Hello and welcome to Wednesday Night Undressed. I'm Lou, your host, and tonight I am joined by Miss Meredith,
Hello.
Mr. Chris,
Greetings.
Mr. Fernando,
Hello.
and Cassidy.
Hello.
Cassidy, you don't seem to be your normal ebullient self. What's going on?
Julian.
Ebullient?
Ebullient.
Good word
Julian
usage, bro.
decided to abandon us all today.
So you gonna be okay with that, or do we need to shut this thing down?
Yeah. We do, actually. I'm calling 911, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
hmm
All right, I will. I'll just kind of skip you on purpose this week, as opposed to the accidental.
Definitely not going to know your name this week.
Does this mean that Julian's your crush? Since you're so upset that he's not here?
Absolutely not. Not in a million years. I've just known him since 11 years, you know. I can't believe he's not here. He just hates us all.
No, I think it's just you.
No, I think it's you, actually. He was actually telling me.
You're the one who physically abuses him.
No. Because he started it. He started it, literally.
I don't believe that's true. I've seen you guys.
I
feel like
don't believe you're real.
that's fair. I get that a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start. Okay, I'm going to actually toss out an audible first because we started this conversation before the podcast, and I said, let's not talk about this now. Let's talk about it on the podcast.
Actually, I said that because you were trying to talk about it, but whatever. Details.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, Meredith is correct. Meredith said, let's stop talking about it because we're going to talk about it on the podcast. So, I was born in the 70s, but I don't have any memory of, 70s culture that I can distinctly say is 70s culture. I have strong memories of 80s culture, so I consider myself an 80s kid. So I'm going to start with Chris because he was literally the one that started this line of topic as we were sitting.
Well, you started it, but I had an intriguing answer, I think, for you.
Shall we disclose the year that we were born?
If you're not comfortable with the
Absolutely
year,
not.
right?
we can disclose the decade.
Yeah,
So-
I will disclose.
Yeah. All right.
I don't have a problem because I was born in 1968. So, I mean, I came of age in the 1970s, and my first memory of the outside world, basically outside, essentially Topeka, Kansas, is the Jonestown Massacre in French Guiana.
Right.
Because I distinctly remember trying to figure out how so many people could have died just by drinking Kool-Aid. Because for a brief period of time, I was afraid of drinking Kool-Aid.
Well, I can give you some good news. It was Flavor Aid, so Kool-Aid was safe.
Yeah.
So there's that.
But
do you have a notion of 70s culture?
Oh, yeah. I mean, where I grew up basically was Manhattan, Kansas, and I grew up essentially on K-State's campus. So culture for me was what all of the college kids were basically into. So I got into bell bottoms. I got into disco a little bit because,
Sorry, you had bell bottoms of visual.
Yeah,
I
well.
couldn't help it.
I was 7, 8, 9, and 10. So, it almost didn't have a choice.
Gotcha.
But I, when it came to the 80s, because you said you remember most of the 80s, I started to react against the 80s as I got older. That's why I consider myself a 70s person, because that's, things that started happening in the 80s, it's really where it started kind of pushing on me, going like, hey, wait a minute, I learned some wrong stuff. And that also kind of helped me focus on stuff going on in the 80s, say, hey, this is good stuff going on. I need to be doing this.
Gotcha. All right, so for you, Fernando, what decade and or year were you born in?
I born in 74, and I mean, that was during military government there. So always it's pretty interesting how behind they were culture-wise. So whatever movie you think was released here in whatever year would be years later there. Cable TV when they start releasing. I was already in high school. I think it was 91 when cable TV started.
Gotcha.
But I think they're pretty merged, from mid 70s to 80s. They can be very blended in style, at least there. What I can see, and I very influenced by music, and I like the amount. I mean, I like and I hate because the amount of wrong things that will be politically incorrect ads and magazine. Which magazine didn't have a cigarette advertising, right? Oh, like almost every 5 pages.
Amen.
Amen.
So
You can
did you-
smoke anywhere?
Did you buy cigarettes for your parents as a kid?
No, but to my grandma, my dad, like, he quit smoking. I was fairly young. I don't remember when he really quit, but I remember he was a smoker.
Mhm.
But I could buy cigarettes, like, let's say 6 years old, riding a bicycle by to my grandma, and I bought booze like being a 13-year-old, and that would be, if I would be the owner of the bar, say, "What, kid? Get out of here!" You're like, and not just me. It's not a thing like there is no liquor, like in a bar that there is adults drinking. You could just, let's say, in front of the matinee dance nightclub. I mean, not was like matinee, so on a Sundays.
Right.
Phew. It's crazy, like how much changed for, at least for better, this filtering. But one thing I missed, like I remember how cool was, and the funny thing is I have 2 siblings. We are like 6 years apart each. We had garage parties every freaking weekend, and we could, like, we just go to the neighborhood on one street, all the middle schoolers say, "Hey, oh yeah, there is a birthday party here," and now there is just this like garage, just there is a DJ there, or we even start setting, or
And this is in elementary school?
no,
middle school?
sorry, middle school. So
Gotcha.
that'll be like being 6th grader, 7th grader, 8th grader was already happening.
Yeah, I
Like
don't
the
think we
smoke
did
was,
that.
I was first cigarette, 7th grader.
Oh, wow.
That's not good. But my friends was always older than I, so I was the young of the crowd, the cousin that, 5 years apart. But it was good
But
times.
you had a functional knowledge of like style in the 70s? Or
Not in the 70s. Like, I think on the 80s, yes. The 80s was more like, find like a kind of cross between, like, I'd be anti-brand. Like, when I early, like, I have a clear view, like a 5th grade, 6th grade was more like in Brazil, it was kind of fashion. You use like surfing clothes. Because I think everybody it's cool to be a surfer, and I hate surfers because of skateboarders. So what would be against that? To be more like punk culture. So it's like white and black and homemade T-shirts. But I had that small phase of like wearing some surfing clothes without ever aspired to be a surfer, because I was already skateboarding since like 4th grade. So that was like that kind of in between, because I like, from Beastie Boys to Sex Pistols and, Dead Kennedys. I think I make my parents buy a Dead Kennedys album
that's awesome.
when I almost think I was 12 or 13. Like, let's see the year that they released. And also another funny fact, and with like a very poor English, like, just knew a few words, but you like the beat, you like the style, like the attitude, looking fanzines and stuff. What was my point on that? It was freaking... Oh, I thought parental advisory was a label.
Nice.
So every time I see that thing, I try, because you couldn't even check the album, so you just buy, and then you listen, and I mean, you don't understand crap there in most of them, and
Right.
but it was a cool parental advisory record label
Nice.
in my mind in Brazil.
Miss Meredith, what about you? What decade were you born in?
None of your business.
Okay. And what decade do you consider yourself to be a part of that decade?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
90s, are you grunge?
I'm sorry. Again, did you not catch the part where I said I wasn't going to tell you my age? No. I am an 80s baby, and I identify with the 80s, I guess. as
So,
far as
like
coming of
80s
age.
style?
Yeah. Like, I remember my favorite outfit was a pink 3-tiered ruffle skirt, and the tiers alternated pink and white stripes, pink and white polka dot, pink and white stripes. And then it had like a little oversized crop top, and the crop top was pink and white stripes on one side and pink and white polka dot on the other side with a little pink and white pocket.
That absolutely sounds-
Absolutely 80s. Loved it.
And
Very Barbie too.
yeah, that would have fit in the.
I also very much loved my Barbie, so thank you. Yeah, but I'm definitely an 80s baby. I remember but I was, oh my God, you're totally going to make me say this. Like, I was born literally at the start of the decade. My birthday is literally right. Shut the heck up, bro. You're just pushing. but literally the decade started a few days before I was born. I mean, a
Gotcha.
handful of days. So I remember getting Thriller on vinyl. I remember all of the because I moved from Texas to Kansas in '85. I remember the World Series, like the Kansas City had won that year. And I mean, I don't know, because there was a lot going on in my life at that time too, and like I had like trauma and stuff that happened in my life too. So like that kind of triggers the fact that my memories do start prior to the '90s. And also, my brothers are like 10 years younger than me, and like I would definitely say they're '90s babies.
So, like, I'm hearing everything that you guys have said, and it's amazing because, like, I was born in the 70s. I was born in 71, Fernando, so I'm a few years older than you. And, like, for instance, I remember the original Star Wars coming out, but I didn't see it in the theater. Like, the first time I saw the original Star Wars was probably in the 90s. So, like, on cable. My family never went out to... theater. I grew up Jehovah's Witness, so we like, and I think maybe that's got a part to do with it for me. Like, I don't have any of the cultural references for the 70s. More accurately, when I think about 70s culture, like the music that we listened to, the TV shows that we listened to, it was all my parents' preferences. So, like, while I love to listen to the OJs and the Spinners and all that stuff now, like, that is firmly my dad's music. Like, I can remember the first song that I listened to that I knew that I wanted to listen to, like, for myself without my parents' influences. It was actually earlier than the 80s, but for me, it's kind of like you said, Fernando, it's so close. By the time you get to like 78, 79, you kind of consider that to be the 80s. There's a song called Ring My Bell. I don't know if you know.
Ring my bell, ring my bell, ring my bell.
Yes.
Is that Blondie?
No.
Absolutely not.
She might be the farthest thing away from.
Yeah, I mean,
that you could be. I can't think of her name, but so that was like the first song that I remember thinking, like, this is not my parents' song. This is my song.
It's unfortunate because you didn't have Michael Jackson.
No, the second song, the absolute second song, was the first song that Michael Jackson released. Outside of the Jacksons, like the Jacksons from the
album.
60s and 70s was my parents. Michael Jackson by himself was my generation. And so in my head, like, I don't actively, I was distinctly there. Like I said, I can remember Star Wars. I can remember the gas shortage even. Like, I remember the long lines of cars that would line up at the gas station. Like, I have those functional memories.
I'm sure you remember the yellow ribbons.
I remember the yellow ribbons. I remember Tony Orlando and Don. Tie that yellow ribbon round the old oak tree. Yeah. So, like, I have absolute memories of the 70s, but the 70s weren't my time. My time literally started around 78, Solid Gold, 79. Like, all of these memories that start, like, at the very beginning of the 80s is really kind of how I define my culture. So when I think of myself as a child of the 80s, because whereas I definitely do have the idea that Michael Jackson sang in the 70s, like, really the Off the Wall album and then Thriller was like the start of what I feel like is my generation's culture.
Do you have any feelings that might be because, and I think kind of every decade is transformative in its own way, but the 80s was like such a direct contrast to what came before it. And like, there was really a separation that didn't necessarily exist so much that came about because of the 70s, where you didn't live your parents' culture. You know what I mean? Like, there was very much a youth independence that came about because of the 60s and 70s that really hit a peak in the 80s. You know what I mean? That, like,
so I think that's definitely a part of it, and I think maybe my feeling on it is a little different than you guys's because, like I said, like, we grew up in this super, super strict religion where we were not even allowed to, like, engage in quote unquote worldly things, and so that seemed to start to lighten up in my life in, like I said, the the late 70s, early 80s. And so, yeah, I the first notion of any kind of style fashion I have is Garanimals, if you guys can remember those.
Oh, I remember Garanimals.
Yes.
I never got Garanimals. I was kind of jealous when.
What is that? What is that?
Garanimals was this line of children's clothes where it was sort of to try to teach kids to be independent. So they had different animals on every item of clothing. So you would have like a orange tiger on your shirt, and then you would have like brown pants that would have an orange tiger on them, so that you would know that these two things go together.
Match.
Yeah.
Match, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I had those of the alligator there, but
That's Lacoste.
That's just the brand
I have
name.
lots, everything. No,
No,
I'm
no,
kidding.
no.
I never had them Lacoste.
Garanimals was specifically for kids to help them kind of identify, well,
That's awesome.
this is fashion and this is how things, help them kind of recognize that these things go together.
You guys so ahead of the curve. There was not that there. My mom just picked up the stuff. And
Yeah.
Speaking of first music, though, the first album that I bought by myself was a single of Convoy from C.W. McCaw.
Nice. I don't know that I bought music before CDs came in. So I know that my next door neighbor, bought Rick Springfield's Jesse's Girl as like the first purchase that he made for himself. And I remember being so jealous because I had never even had that experience. Like, he had a collection that his parents had bought for him, but that was the first one that he went out and bought for himself. And I don't even have that notion that there was music that you could just go out and buy. So,
Yeah. My friends and I used to, speaking of like musical recording mediums, my friends and I in the mid-'70s used to take our BB guns and shoot out old 8-track tapes. Because everybody was switching out at that time to cassettes, and so 8-tracks were pretty much, nobody wanted them anymore. Although I still remember seeing those in record stores.
that's just horrible.
Well, the reason I asked you that question though is because there was a significant shift also in like marketing in the 80s that directly targeted, like, they didn't invest in the buying power of teenagers
Yeah.
until really that, like, there were
So
some people
it's-
that did.
Interesting that you say that.
Good
That's
point.
where Saturday morning cartoons
Yeah.
actually came from.
Yeah.
Like, it was a concerted effort to market to kids, and the government actually tried to stop it at first. Like, that's how it ended up being how we got Saturday morning cartoons. The government said you cannot market directly to kids unless it's educational programming. And so it basically turned out that, like, they pushed all of the kids shows to Saturdays. Because before that, like, you would have this mix on Saturday mornings of like news shows and like farm shows and so on and so on and so on. And starting in the late 60s, early 70s, it became
Yeah.
Saturday morning was the time for cartoons, and that's where you could see Tony the Tiger or Toucan Sam or whatever else.
Yeah, but for a long time there was no real toy tie-in. You had cartoons. Maybe there might be a toy that came later, but the cartoon always came first. It wasn't until the 80s that, it became, let's build a toy so that we can build a cartoon around it. And
franchise
and that's how, the G.I. Joe went from 12 inches to like 4 inches, whatever it was.
G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip.
I'm not going to say anything about what just happened there. I'm just going to let that
My-
one fly, guys.
He-Man.
My mom used to make sleeping bags for my G.I. Joes out of the old jeans, when they wore out, and she'd cut them off to give me cut-off shorts. She'd sew those into little sleeping bags for them.
Nice.
So, Cassidy, you are the Gen Z representative here tonight. What do you think
Yeah.
about all of this stuff that we just said?
I knew some of what you were talking about
Yeah.
because Gen Z likes to every really generation took something from another generation, but some of that stuff I've heard about once or twice here and there.
So, what decade were you born
I was born in the 2000s, but at the very end of the 2000s. I was born in 2009, and most of my memories are from the 2010s.
in? So, you're a 2010s kid,
Mm-hmm.
like solidly.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
who wants
didn't.
to be associated with anything past 2020? I mean, let's be honest.
Right.
I didn't really start having memories until 5 years old. That's kind of when I spawned in. Before 2014, I have absolutely no memories of anything that happened. So most of my memories are from 2014 and later, but most of my teen years, actually all of my teen years, have been in the 2020s.
So do you recognize or do you remember the first song that you personally identified with?
That didn't happen until like 2022.
Are you willing to share the song?
I don't know. But like I also thought when I was younger I would hear
So that was a
songs.
no.
It says no.
I would hear songs on the radio, and I thought to myself like, when am I going to get my own music? Because I thought like people listened to Taylor Swift as like that was like kids music, and that's probably gonna get me like assassinated online. But she's alive. Anyway, most of the people who are popular now, I dabble in their music, like Lumi Athena.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you say any name past like 1990, most of us here aren't going to know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't even know who
We
Louis
might have heard of
Kate,
them.
Claire, Jay Hings.
Yeah, it sounds like you're just making shit up.
No, I definitely.
Yeah, they're a part of a genre that exists.
Gotcha.
That is pretty cool.
What's the genre?
I don't know.
Jinky pop, I don't know. She's going to make up something else.
I tell you what
Crush
it's not.
Club.
It's lo-fi.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's called Crush Club.
Yeah, you're just making this
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. That was completely like unprepared for, but it's not like we do a whole bunch of preparation.
Sometimes you just got to say,
That's
just do it.
right.
All right. Next question. Do you wear a smartwatch? If so, why? And if not, why not? And what would change your mind either way? So I'm going to start with you, Chris, because you're the elder statesman here.
Dude, is that the new,
I'm just
is
an
that the new,
old man
watch?
complaining at the clouds. No, I don't think I'd ever wear a smartwatch. Number one, because I'm horrible with watches. They always disappear from, usually it's primarily because I don't like wearing them. I can't wear them on my right arm because I write with this and it just feels weird. So I always put them on my left arm, which everyone says, I thought you were right-handed. Why aren't you wearing that on your right arm? It's like, because it feels weird on my right arm.
What? I wear mine on my left.
I think that's
Yeah.
the norm.
Yeah.
The norm is,
No,
No,
it's
if you
harassing you.
write
It's just
always on
harassing you
the
for
arm,
no
I
reason.
think.
I
People-
always
Mine
put
on
my
my
watch
left.
on my left arm. Or
people
wrong.
always,
Who knows?
So I get it.
Just being assholes.
I get the opposite. No, because I'm right-handed and I wear it on my right hand.
Oh,
And I get people constantly questioning,
oh yeah?
why do I have my watch on my writing hand, especially if I'm not going to flip it around.
I was gonna say because you're like that's your dominant hand. You have to stop whatever you're doing.
So a lot of people, if they wear it on their dominant hand, they wear it like this so that they can see it as they're writing. But I don't even do that. I wear it on the back side of my hand.
Like, I never put it on my right arm because it always interfered with my writing, and I'd always take it off to do something, and then I would either leave it somewhere and lose it, or the real reason is because back in the 70s, I really wanted a Snoopy watch. I finally got a Snoopy watch, and when the battery wore out, we took it to a jeweler, and they put the new battery in. I put it on my wrist. We walked out to the store. We walked the 20 feet to our car, and the watch was gone.
Holy crap. Oh,
It-
it just came off?
It fell off, and it wasn't in the store. It wasn't on the street anywhere. I can't believe that it fell off and somebody picked it up. I mean, it just completely disappeared. And so I jinxed.
Snoopy trauma.
So, and so I'm jinxed when it comes to watches, so I just don't. And, I've always, okay, if I need to tell time, somebody's got a watch, and I can ask them what the time is. There's usually a clock somewhere within sight just about wherever I am, so
So if Lynn were to get you a smart watch that had a Snoopy face on it,
I still wouldn't wear it.
damn it, Chris.
That watches and I never gelled, so
So there's no chance. You're just not going to be a smartwatch guy.
no. I mean,
That's fair.
for me, I remember the whole two-way wrist communicator that Dick Tracy had. I thought that was cool, but when I was reading those comments, I also had this thing called a walkie-talkie, and those were really cool. My friends and I use those all the time, so we really didn't need any kind of communication on our wrist.
All right, this is starting to feel a little bit like sour grapes. So I'm move on. And Fernando, are you a smartwatch wearer?
You know, I'm trying to use. I was like a watch addicted. I always had, but I like very slim profile and super light. I never like too bulky stuff. In the beginning, I was kid. I like those digital, and if you have a Casio with calculator, it's even more cool. Or the one that can go 200 meters, scuba diving. Not that I even went below, 10 feet down. Um, but I'm giving a shot, but I still I think it's very useful, and you gotta set the device and really tweak and put like for your assistance. But it's phenomenal. You can even pay stuff with a smartwatch. Now, do we need to watch? We don't anymore. Since the cell phone in our pockets 24/7, it's our pocket watch. But I think the Apple like watches and any smartwatch is pretty cool that you have like a lot of decent features. And I don't do any workout. I wish I did something healthy. And it's pretty cool how much things you can track. It's even good for your health. You
Right.
can even call 911 with that stuff. So I'm pro, but I have one that I use one day here and 10 days not using.
Gotcha. So I've noticed both of you ladies are smartwatch wearers. So my question to you first, Meredith, is what would be the thing they could take away from the watch or add to the watch that makes you say, fuck this, I'm not wearing this anymore?
Nothing.
So
I freaking love my smartwatch, and I'm actually really pissed off right now, and I'm kind of mad that you brought this up because it's a sore subject, but my
Uh-oh.
smartwatch literally broke last week.
Uh-oh.
So I'm not handling it well. I'm in therapy trying to deal with it, and I hate having my watch.
What broke on it? Is it just the strap?
The charging,
Oh,
the backside
gotcha.
of the charging connection.
Gotcha.
So yes, I have to go get a new smartwatch. I'm a diehard smartwatch user.
So, Miss Cassidy, what about you?
So actually, this is the first time I've worn my watch in like months. I didn't know we were gonna have this question, but I charged my watch like right before I went to bed, and I put it on when I went to sleep because like when you sleep with your smartwatch on, it like gives you a sleep chart, and I really like looking at it to analyze how I sleep. But I kind of like woke up 2 hours into sleeping and took it off and put it on its charger, which I don't remember doing, but I did it. So
Also, fun fact about you and your smartwatch. Your smartwatch also lets you know when you've left your phone and you don't have your phone on.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, can't tell you the number of times my smartwatch has saved my butt there.
I agree. Same here.
I usually wear my watch in school. I don't wear it in summer, like at all. I wear it in school because that's when I'm most active and walking around. So
Got it. That makes sense. So, yeah, I have worn them for as long as they've been available, but it has never been an absolute accessory. Like
What are you wearing? Which kind?
right now, it's the Samsung
Samsung?
Galaxy 4 Classic Frontier, I think it's called, or some weird ass name like that. I have always gotten them for free, and I have always thought of them as super expensive toys, but they are super handy to have. Like, I think still today, I would not recommend a smartwatch to anyone. But I would say if you are interested in a smartwatch, like, they're hella fun and hella handy for like all the reasons that you guys said. Like, Fernando, I don't even think about the fact that like I check my steps every day on my watch. It's just kind of a part of what I do. And I think partially it's because I don't really do anything with that information, but it's handy to know. Today I only walked 8,000 steps. Yesterday I walked 22,000. Excuse me,
And
22,000 steps.
You would know how fast your heart beat and maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like some added information that it gives to me. But this, of all the things that I carry, is probably the one thing that I feel like I don't absolutely need.
So wait, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Were you said you were not a watch wearer?
Absolutely not.
No, see, I'm the opposite. I have always been a watcher where
Me too,
ever since
yeah.
I was a child.
Yeah.
Like I had my big old Mickey watch with big old hands, and my parents had bought me watches for like numerous special occasions. I've always
You
been.
had the 80s one that was like 4 inches.
I had one with a big giant face. Don't worry about it.
Nice. How
I've
about
had
a
a few,
calculator? How
but-
much of a nerd were you? Did you
No,
ever
I never
have
had
a...
anything of that.
Oh, so you
garbage.
don't...
Oh, Casio
But I
data bank.
definitely,
Right.
well, I always wear like fashion watches.
Mhm,
So, but yeah, no, I've always been a watch wearer.
Gotcha.
Always.
Cool. So that all tracks. So we now know we cannot get Chris to buy a watch. If we want to give him a gift that he's just going to re-gift, get him a smartwatch.
Yeah.
I'll accept the regift. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you're getting therapy for your problems with your watch. That's good, healthy behavior.
Now, to
Appreciate
be
the support here.
real honest, I'm that way with my smartphone. And so the one thing that my watch is good for is that it lets me know when I've left my phone somewhere, and because I will lose my shit if I leave my phone somewhere. So
Yeah, the first time I had my iPad, I ended up leaving it because I took it to the grocery store because I put my grocery list on it, and took it out in the parking lot. It was sitting in the little seat, and I put my groceries in my car, and I pushed the basket back into the cart return, and left and got home. And was like, oh fuck. And fortunately, some nice attendant at Dillon's down in Wichita had saw it and put it into the lost and found, and I was able to get it back.
So this is the interesting thing to me, Chris, because you're an engineer, but you are like the least technologically addicted, I think, of any of us. Like you don't have a cell phone; you just use your iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
And you don't
I
have
made
a
a-
smartwatch.
I made a conscious decision years ago as I watched my friends become addicted to those things that I wasn't going to get one of those. That I didn't need a phone. I had a phone at work. I had a phone at my house. When I was out on the golf course, I didn't want a phone because I was playing golf, and so I wasn't going to take any calls even if I did have one.
So I got a serious. Oh no, you got an iPad. I was going to ask, how do you watch porn in the bathroom? But you got an iPad, so you're still covered.
I don't ever watch porn in the bathroom. That's kind of disgusting.
Wow,
I mean,
I
I
can't believe you.
I wait till
I'm offended.
I wait till I'm in my bed or a nice comfy chair for crying out loud. The toilet seat is so uncomfortable. I mean, good lord.
Wait a minute, you're a married guy. Enough said. All right.
Getting weird.
All right, next question. What is the best screen adaptation? And by screen adaptation, I'm talking TV or movies of a book or video game, in your opinion. So, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to really think about this, but Cassidy's looking a little bit excited. So I'm going to start with you, Cass.
FNAF movie, October 27th.
You haven't even
You
seen that
haven't
yet.
seen it yet.
I
That
don't
doesn't
care.
What?
I don't care. Okay.
What movie?
Ugh,
Five
the
Nights
FNAF
at Freddy's.
movie.
Let's not go back down this road, please.
Oh yeah, we were there, right?
count. Yeah, yeah. All right, seriously, if there's a movie that you've seen already that you think is a good adaptation of a book or video game, what is it?
Any Marvel movie ever. They're all adaptations of the comics.
But have you read the comics?
I've read some comics.
And you, so that would count. All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
I'll go along with that.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Chris, what about you?
For me, it is The Dead Zone. But
Mm-hmm.
it is probably, I mean, for me, yeah, it is the best. I mean, it hews very close to the book in terms of what happens in the events. Christopher Walken is just absolutely perfect as the title character in that. And the one change they make to the ending, you know, while I wasn't 100% happy with it, it's still, I understand how they kind of, why they had to do that for the movie audience as opposed to the book audience. So, and video games, it's really, really hard. I'd probably have to say Doom, though. Just,
Really? Okay.
just for the pure schlocky, you know, ultra violence, fun, turn your brain off and have a good time.
That is kind of shocking to me, and I'm
Well,
not
it's-
sure why.
I mean, that's what a video game is. It's just a go have a good time. And, you know, the Doom video game and the Doom movie, they're, you know, that's what they are.
Right, right. Miss Meredith, have
Yes.
you had a chance to think about this question at all?
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
I believe wholly that people fall into one of two categories. You either love the book or you love the movie. So generally, if I do one, I don't do the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot tell you
Mhm.
because usually 9 times out of 10, I've only done one or the other.
Gotcha. That's interesting.
Because it never fails. Every person I ever know that reads a book before they go to see a movie, they're always, apparently, except for the Dead Zone, they're always pissed off about something they change in the book.
Mhm.
Like Harry Potter's fans freaking up in arms over Harry Potter's movie. Like, I mean, always. Walking Dead people who had read the graphic novels. God, Jesus, the complaints they had during season 2.
What
with the
about
governor.
Twilight?
I could give a shit about Twilight. But
Thank you.
yeah, no. I just feel like you either do one or the other, so I very rarely do both.
That's interesting. That's like I think it's a smart take, and I'm not a smart man. So if I know that I'm going to go see a movie, I will read the book first and then be disappointed. So
Yeah.
I think your method is actually much smarter. What about you, Fernando?
Gosh, there's so many good stuff, from the Marvels to Clockwork Orange. Gosh, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the trilogy, and they did the original, not the American version.
Yes.
All the Belgian stuff I think was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Let the Right One In. The based on video game, what was the new HBO, that one with the guy that's on a Star Wars, and it's like a post-apocalyptical. What's one?
Oh, Last of Us.
I think that was great. I
That-
didn't play the video game, but everybody that played the video game,
Is it a recent one?
I feel like
You're talking about a
video game
recent
might be
TV?
one exception, though,
Yeah, it's probably Last of Us.
to my rule.
that's
But
right.
that's-
And
that's a
they
good
never
adaptation.
readapt, right? It was I think people that play the video game, they say that it's very in good.
Oh yeah, I played the video game for The Last of Us, and yeah, that's a really good adaptation of.
I think video game might be like the one exception to my rule because I think a lot of times you're filling in the holes of a world that doesn't fully exist.
Or if you do what Last of Us did, and they've taken side stories and fleshed it out. I mean, there's one side story that we only get these hints of who this guy is and this relationship he has with this other guy, and in the TV adaptation, they do a whole episode about him and his story, which was lovely.
Maybe the best
Like I
episode
said,
of TV.
Video games might be the one
Period.
exception.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cass.
I also forgot there was this one cartoon one time made after a game that I absolutely hate, which would be known as League of Legends. I absolutely hate League of Legends. I've always hated League of Legends. I think it should have never existed until Arcane came out. Now I think it should have existed. Also, season 2 is coming out soon. By the way, of Arcane. I really like Arcane. It was really
I
good.
have to put that on my watch list then.
Yeah, Arcane is really good, and I've never played League of Legends, and I enjoyed Arcane quite a bit. Yeah, I don't know that I have a better selection than Last of Us as far as an adaptation. For pretty much the reasons that you said, Chris. It is, and you, Meredith, that it was. The neat thing about video games is that you don't have to have a complete story. I think it helps if you do, but because the story is not central, it doesn't matter when you're in the video game if the story is complete. And so when you do these adaptations, especially like a TV or movie adaptation, that process of filling it out doesn't seem to necessarily go against sort of the established mythos of the story ahead of time. So,
Well, plus in video games, it kind of depends on how you want to play it. If you're a completist, kind of like me, and you want to do 100% of it, you're trying to find all the little notes and journals, and
It's the only way to play a video game.
that fleshes out a bunch of the story. But you can go through the whole. Most video games, you can go through, and you don't need to collect any of that stuff.
right. So,
Zelda.
yeah, see, I feel like
Then you're playing it wrong.
I'm not. No, I'm just saying that you
Mystical
can
Man.
choose to collect everything, or you could choose to almost die to everything because you didn't collect all the heart pieces.
See, I got my watch changed around. So now it takes me a long time to look at the time because I'm not used to having it there. All right, we'll do one more question because we're coming up on an hour. Do you guys have a preference? Because I kind of want to do the inner monologue question.
I was going to say that one, yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, is your inner monologue your own voice, or are you like me and have Morgan Freeman narrate your life in your head?
I'm sorry, I was trying to make it through without laughing. I've been thinking it all day.
All right, Meredith, you first.
Oh, wow, me? Okay, no, bitch, I'm the star in this fucking movie. You kidding? No, I don't know. Morgan Freeman, I mean, listen, no shade to Morgan. Love you, bro. But, yeah, no. I'm the narrator. I'm the star. I'm the fucking stage crew. I'm the usher. I am running this one-woman show. Straight Whoopi Goldberg style. Kiss my black ass. Yeah, there you go. There's your answer.
That's very surprising to hear.
Yeah, gee, you never saw that coming from me. Yeah.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm like Meredith. It's my voice. I mean, I will admit every once in a while I do kind of slip into perhaps Morgan Freeman, really more along the lines of that guy who sounds like Morgan Freeman but does the funny interpretations of nature videos. Although every once in a while I'm going full Richard Attenborough, during the narration. So, but most of the time it's just me going like, "What are you doing, idiot?"
Cassidy, do you narrate your life in your own voice?
Yes.
Nobody else?
No. It's just me.
If you were going to pick somebody that would narrate your life,
Zendaya.
I knew that was going to be the answer. I knew it.
that is perfect. Because she narrates the new Dune movie, and she does a phenomenal job.
I like Zendaya. She's pretty cool.
I think Zendaya's all right.
Yeah.
All right.
I think she's amazing, but okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd go amazing. But
I don't know that you're correct in anything, actually.
You don't want to get into this, Louis? He's been a
Apparently
diehard
not.
Zendaya fan since like Shake It Up days, bro. So
she kind of posted up when she said that, so I'm going to step
I feel like
back.
she might throw down over this.
Fernando, what about you?
Gosh, like, I don't know. That sounds weird. Like, I think it's kind of my voice, but it's pretty mute. There is no voice. The thoughts are there. Like, I don't feel a narration. Even there is a narration. That makes sense. It's kind of, I can't feel that.
Yes, that absolutely makes sense. In fact, my answer is going to emphasize that because for me, there's a difference between me having a dialogue with myself, which is always in my own voice. Like you said, Chris, when I'm saying to myself, "What are you thinking, stupid?"
Mm-hmm.
That's always me talking to me. When I'm narrating myself, when I am replaying back what I did for the day, then that may be my voice, but not necessarily. So if there was something that happened that was actually pretty cool, then
That's when Morgan Freeman jumps on.
that's when Morgan Freeman jumps on.
I cannot.
Because I don't narrate past, I kind of narrate, what's going on right now.
Right.
You
So
know.
for me, that's the dialogue. And so for the dialogue portion, there is, like, it's always me talking to myself. It's never me talking to someone else. There's always an inner dialogue with, either smarter Lou or angry Lou or whatever I need to, deal with.
If we could just add in like a voiceover of Morgan Freeman right now with
That
"It was
would
a
be-
hot summer day," like that'd be perfect. Note to Eva.
When you do talk to yourself, though, do you is it all in your head or do you talk to yourself vocally?
So I've noticed for me, the older I get, the more it accidentally comes out.
Just that you don't ever do it specifically, because I do it a lot, particularly like if, just to bring the golf course back into it, when I'm not doing well and, that anger is in there, that's when I will take myself to the side and I will give myself a little pep talk, and I do it out loud or as I'm trying to stand before swing, it'll be like, okay, nice and easy, no need to kill it. Just make contact with the ball. You'll be fine. And that's like a little pep talk right before I, as I'm lining up my shot and I'm standing before it and getting ready to go. And I'll do that, regardless of where I'm even playing with people that I've never played before. Mm-hmm. And that's usually always in my own voice. Although every once in a while, yeah, it'll kick into some kind of commenter's voice.
Or Happy Gilmore or something.
Never Happy Gilmore. No,
I table with crazy people. I don't even know.
I don't even want to begin to compare myself to Happy Gilmore. I mean, that's just another level I'm never going to reach. But
Right. So What about when you were still working before you retired? When you were still working as an engineer, if you had to work out a problem, would you do it entirely in your head? Thank you. Would you do it entirely in your head, or would you would you speak out loud to sort of manifest an answer to a problem?
Usually, I was all in my head. The vocalizations would be more or less along the lines of trying to keep myself from getting distracted
Gotcha.
and saying nope, no, don't go down that route, or usually more just mostly venting frustration.
Gotcha. How about you, Meredith? When you're either pep talking yourself or super pissed, is it internal or does it become external?
It depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically enough, I don't tend to narrate past events like you do. I tend to narrate future events.
I've noticed that about you. Like, I know that about you.
So,
Yeah.
I have a problem with control. And so,
So, question. When
Yeah.
you do that, because my understanding from just kind of being your friend is that you narrate out what you think,
what I expect to happen.
What you expect
How
to
I
happen.
expect events to unfold, yes.
And so when you do that, are you, like, if there are other people involved, are you still in your voice? Or are you hearing?
Fuck yeah, I'm in my voice. I'm the puppeteer. These bitches are just on the stage. Like,
That's fair. That's fair.
We are all
Yeah,
figments of Meredith's imagination.
Mm-hmm.
we're not living in my imagination. Somebody will find that out pretty soon. I'm just saying. Like, it reminds me, there was this scenario where for those of you at the table who don't, not necessarily on the airwaves, but I've been dealing with a lot of stuff at work, and it's been getting it to me. And one day, my assistant manager and I are walking out of the building, and he's like, "What's going on with you?" He's like, "You just, like, I'm not seeming like myself." And then he was like, "You just don't handle things well when you're not in control." And I literally turned around and he's like, "Literally, your whole demeanor changed in that second." And I said, "What makes you think I'm not in control?" And he's like, "Okay, that's the Meredith I know."
Right. So, Fernando, did any of that ring true for you? Do you, two questions. Do you have an inner dialogue with yourself?
Like after, like, oh, you say two questions. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, no. And the second question is, if you have a dialogue, do you then also not narrate, or do you recognize that there's a difference between those two things?
There is dialogue. There is nothing wrong. There is a little bit about, it's airing out frustration to myself.
Mm-hmm.
That happens a lot.
Right.
It's close to a dialogue, but it's close to the predicting the shit gonna go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, God damn it. And as always, there is bad words all over the place.
Uh-huh.
But the on a creative side, I always keep thinking it's like it's close to a dialogue, but I keep like it's almost like creating a tree of what and this and this and this and that. Very linear, very logical.
Right.
But like at the best, I don't think I look back and I can hear looking back.
Yeah. So, and quite honestly, that just may be my neurosis. So,
That's
like, you guys don't have to be involved in that madness
That's interesting.
by any stretch. So, all right, gang, we have surpassed the. Oh no! We actually are only at 50 minutes. So,
Oh.
no. She said she wasn't here. She said she
What?
didn't exist.
Did you say that?
Well, she answered. Whether or not she's a narrator, she said no.
Yeah.
It's her voice.
Was it Julian that narrates?
Wow.
I thought you said that you didn't exist.
Oh, that's right. 'Cause that's why I didn't have to ask her any questions.
Now it makes me wonder whether or not Julian's narrating. It's definitely not Morgan Freeman, though, that he is narrating anything for Julian.
So,
I feel like it'd definitely be more like Malcolm X or something like that. Just an opinion.
Malcolm X, Chuck D, somewhere along
Yeah.
those lines.
Yeah.
Well,
Someone a little bit more Black Power. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
well, should his estate be suing Elon since Elon has renamed Twitter to X?
I was thinking that immediately. Yep. Go ahead, Cass.
I wonder how people without like an inner dialogue read, or do they get songs stuck in their head?
I was like literally right before you asked that question.
Ooh.
Or right before you raised your hand, I was going to ask that very same question. Like, does a person that has never been able to hear, do they have a voice when they dialogue with themselves.
Oh.
Well, you took a dark turn there. I don't think that's where she was going, bro.
Well, I think it was kind of in the same
no,
vein.
I
would say yeah.
I would say they'd have to. It was just
How the
not
hell
be
would
a-
any of you know? None of you have ever been deaf.
No,
Well,
I'm not saying.
but-
I'm not saying any opinion
I'm
on
not-
if it happens or
partially
not.
deaf.
I can-
was DEF from the beginning.
Shut up.
Really?
Stop it. Stop it. No,
Really?
stop it.
Well-
with your 1980 joke, with your childhood. Stop it.
Really?
I-
Jesus.
Even though a person who is deaf cannot hear, they still have language. And
They didn't. But does it mean they have a dialogue? Maybe it's like more like a freaking hand show.
But
You don't know.
But in order to have my brain just hiccups, so I'm gonna have to rethink this one. So somebody else has some
Did I throw you off
talking.
the sign language?
A little bit.
Sign language is a real language.
All right. Thank you, guys. This has been fun. We have made it to our 50-minute mark, so we're going to call it a day.
Yippee-ki-yay.
And yes, Meredith, we will get some episodes posted like soon.
It's cool. Again, we've established I'm a narcissist and I like to
Yeah.
hear my own voice. So, like, if you
I
could help me out,
I
thanks.
understand. All right. Again, this has been Wednesday Night Undress. I have been Lewis, your host, and I want to say thank you to Meredith, Chris,
Hey.
Fernando, and Cassidy.
No problem.
And we will hopefully see you guys next week.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Bye.
Bye.